big night of footy at the SCG, and we knew the big men were going to do the damage, didn't we? And what about this for linking? A perfectly timed kick. Adam Goods, so much on his plate. Indigenous round of footy, and he started with a bang by kicking the second goal of the night. That was goal 600 for the man of the moment, the $1 million man, the $10 million man, Buddy Franklin. And then Bird, who's had an exceptional game, 26 touches so far to three-quarter time, slots a tip. It's been really, really impressive throughout the night, having kicked 4 goals. And Chris Scott, not quite sure what to do. Third quarter got underway after the scores at halftime with a 48-point differential. And Adam Good stepped to the plate, kicked goal number 3, and then this, a hip and shoulder to the head. Not a lot of force. We don't think he's got a lot to worry about, but it certainly will be looked at. Three-quarter time, Sydney by 79.
Unusual night for Cameron Ling's old side. What do you make of Lingy?
Well, it has not been a good night at all for the Cats, but the Swans have been amazing. Richo mentioned before the fact they've generated 59 inside 50s to three-quarter time. That's unbelievable. You go into a game, coaches would be aiming for about 55. They think confidently you can get 55 entries for a whole game, you win the game. 59 to three-quarter time is incredible. Great effort by the Swans up to this point. Just a quick one from Geelong. They have made the sub. Mackie off, Jackson Sheringham on.
Okay, do you know what the problem was with Mackie there, Lingy?
I think back is what I'm going with. I don't think it's kidneys. I was trying to signal to the Geelong doctors, but I believe it's his back that they're worried about more than the kidneys. He's up and moving okay, but I don't think they want to take any risks with him.
Okay, so Andrew Mackie out of the game. Sheringham, the sub, comes in and his 12th career game.
Lingy mentioned the inside 50s again. Their Sydney averaged 55 for a whole game over the season, so just shows you how well they're going tonight.
They've had over 70 more possessions as well, Richo, but they're also out tackling Geelong at the same time, so the numbers are off the chart in almost every area here. Uncontested possessions.
Hughes coughing it up there. Kieran Jack with that lovely way to left foot. Gee, was Buddy being held? The crowd thought so. Buddy thought so. Taylor said no way. What a pickup from Duncan as he threw it out the front door there to Guthrie. Adam Goods, of course, Australian of the Year. Plays game 336 tonight, joining former Swan, Kangaroo and Lion John Rantel in 16th place on the all-time list for games played. An incredible feat as he moves up the ladder, and we think he'll go a lot higher.
He's called through during the week. He's going to join us on Saturday Night Footy, and he's bringing the Prime Minister with him with a pretty significant announcement.
Got a bit of pull these days, hasn't he?
And he just picks up the phone and people answer these days.
Franklin was trying to claim the kick, but he won't get it. It'll go to McGlynn.
Still, just pop this up to the top of the square, I reckon.
Photographer moves his TV Wheat magazine there that he was reading. In the middle of all that, off hands. Over the back, Jack. Not quite.
It's an Australian last year, Kieran Jack, and the first month when Sydney were just a little bit underdone and a bit flat, he was getting tagged out of the game sort of pretty consistently for the first month, but he's back in really good form, Jack.
See this side now, and to think they were beaten in round 1 by 32 points by GWS is just mind-boggling. I think they were still thinking about the year before, perhaps. Hawkins pinned in the Richards tackle. Hawkins claiming the ball had spilled.
Tom no longer has possession.
There's no weaknesses there at the moment in this Swans team. Teddy Richards limping away there from the contest. Keep an eye on that.
McIntosh to Duncan. McLean, the little man in there. Blitzarves. Look at the red jumpers. Look at them. 5 of them escorting Reece Shaw down the ground. Now Buddy wheels on the left. He is going to wind up. It was a deliberate ball to Tippett, who gets back and marks. No, he's dropped it. Big Tippo's dropped it. A chesty in the end, but Hanbury is able to Sydney celebrate with an 86-point lead.
Well, that ball movement from half back, the rebound they're getting in the numbers and the run and carry, it's telling a real story tonight. Whether Geelong are feeling the effects, whatever it is, it's domination from the Sydney Swans. It's been led by Malcheski at half back, 28 disposals. Reece Shaw's had 24 from half back, and then their midfield dominating.
Chest mark drop there from Tippett, but the run and the play from Sydney is just extraordinary. Lee, Richo and BT, I want to ask the three of you. We are prone to big statements in the media sometimes. I think this is the most talented team in the game. Hawthorn at their best, I don't think talent for talent are as good. I think they can go all the way. Is anyone more talented on this side?
I think in terms of talent, when you look at guys like that, Buddy Franklin, I think in terms of talent and the potential, is probably Sydney. But for me, the side that's playing the best at the moment is Port. But in terms of talent, I think you're right. Sydney have got the best talent.
We have a look at the live ladder tonight. Geelong have dropped a lot of percentage, over 12 percentage points so far tonight to drop below the Gold Coast.
Sydney up into that second position, as you can see.
Yeah, well, just on that topic, Das, Port Adelaide and Sydney are clearly playing the best footy in the competition at the moment. But I think when you look at pure talent, as you're saying, I think the Swans probably stack up ahead of Port Adelaide. They've had a few more runs over the board for a long period of time, but Port Adelaide are sensational.
I'm a big fan of Port Adelaide, but I think they've got a long way to catch Sydney. I think Sydney get a run on this will be their 6th win.
I think in terms of proven talent, there's no doubt that Sydney have got the proven talent.
Got runs on the board.
Port have yet to prove it
over a long period of time, won finals.
And guys, what Sydney have, we see Ted Richards just getting a little bit of treatment. He looks okay. What Sydney have got at the moment too is a really good, healthy list. Something they didn't have last year. They had a few injuries last year coming off their premiership in 2012. This year, really healthy, strong list.
Jimmy with a barrel to the middle of the ground. It reached the outer part of that circle in the middle. Put the maths together, Richo, and tell me how far that was. Here's Sheringham, a little dribble to Stevie J, takes the bo peep, and he finishes with a goal, his first of the night.
The coast-to-coast goal, and the big one-step barrel from Jimmy Bartell. It's taken a while to see free score in Geelong, and it's taken a long while. 5 minutes into the last quarter. Been a tough night for the Cats in every sense. I think it's a bit of an aberration. Can't see them dwelling on this one for too long. Get back on track pretty soon.
Now, Richo, the barrel here from James Bartell, edge of the square to the outer perimeter of the circle. How far?
I think it's gone about 65 metres.
What? It's got to be further than that, 40. Half of the circle is 25, 65, plus the bit in the middle. It's got to be 70, Richo.
Yes, that's what I meant. 70.
Yes.
Just done 70.
Do the maths, Richo. Come on.
It was a rhetorical question, was it, BT?
Yeah. Tip it around the corner. The big fella. Bending.
How long's the square again?
It's 10 metres.
No, the centre square.
Oh, the centre's 50.
It's 50.
So you halve that, so it's 25.
40, 65, and there's about 2 metres. It's gone about 67.
And there's 4 metres in there, but okay, I'll give it 2. Split you at 3. All right, don't look at me like that.
Underrated the barrel. We need to see
I don't know
more
why we
of it.
don't use it more.
I love it.
You got a laser in your mind to measure that, or
Yeah, I did, and it's 67 metres.
call you laser brain?
Yeah.
Oh, now is that a knee? No, it's just a cramp. From Buse.
He's had some run rolls tonight, young Jeb Buse, in his 3rd game. He's trying to run with Dan Hanbury. It might be the best gut run in the competition, and he's just blown up in his 3rd game, young Buse.
Oh, brilliant hands there from Selwood to McIntosh. Put behind Guthrie. Now Lloyd. Look at Shaw. Wanted to carry the footy. Stamped urgent to carry the footy he was. Reed. Ted Richards trying to loosen up that right hamstring. Be a risk putting him back out there now
Hold the mark.
with the potential to do any damage there. appears to be none done at the moment, but certainly he is tight. Canterbury off hands. Bird keeps it alive down the line. Stokes got a mark, a difficult one. Lloyd wearing him like a glove. Hall and Smith fast hands. It was good out the back door to Rivers. Rivers too long in the air, that handball. Put Hughes under enormous pressure. Got his head crashed into the deck as well. Jack wanted to pull his kick at the last moment. Hall and Smith again sets it up with another nice handball. Selwood into the middle to Sheringham. He turns on the right boot. Tries to draw Hawkins to the footy and got him. First time tonight, really, that they've hit Hawkins on the lead.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't seen that for the whole game for Big Tommy. He's found the going tough tonight.
This is his distance, this one. He just really kicks through it, Tommy.
He can kick the journey from here, no problems at all. Hawkins lets it go, and it's pretty damn easy when you just go back and strike it like that. .76 points now. By the way, the biggest loss that Geelong have incurred since 2007 was 86 points to Collingwood in 2008, in fact. The game was.
That's their only loss over 50 points in that time.
And here they are with a 76-point deficit at the moment. McGlynn out of the middle trying to increase that. Lloyd, longish handball. Jack around on the left. Now he gets a really good look. Well balanced and bends it back, and it's out to 82 points.
Sure how Jack can find himself in that much space inside 50 forward of the contest. Just one of those nights for the Cats. Really enjoying themselves out there, the Swannies.
Having a little glance down at the boundary line, and I have my own Lingy. Did someone just hand you a note of some description, Lingy? You got anything to report down there?
Gee, you've got good eyesight, Dar. So I did get handed a little note, and it's not a phone number. I didn't
not
get
an old flame up here, really?
No. It was a very polite suggestion that perhaps I go and put the playing kit on and go out there and have a kick. But I don't think Geelong's even that hard up at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there, Lingy.
Thanks, Brian.
You stick to coaching and commentary, mate, and leadership stuff. That's your go. You are a gun at all of that.
I don't think your hamstrings would last more than about 20 seconds, Lingy.
You're spot on there, Richo.
Trained off a touch, Lingy?
Just a little bit, Dar. So you got to do that. Just taper off a bit.
Not since 2006 have Geelong been beaten by 100 points or more. And I tell you what, at an 88-point differential at the moment, it's on the cards.
Enjoying their night here, the Sydney Swans fans. It's a beautiful Sydney night. Thursday night footy's come to town. Renovated SCG, 37,355 is a great result for this game. I think Rich on BT went with about 25, just 12 minutes short.
I've said 25 darts. Just a little bit off.
It's a good crowd up here, BT. 37,355, the official attendance. That's a big success.
It is.
Thursday night footy in Sydney.
Are they sending a bit of a message, do you think, the fans up here?
Well, I think everywhere. I think Thursday nights is the winner, and I think we'll see that more fixtured Thursday nights next year and less Mondays. I think people switch off after about 6 o'clock on a Sunday.
And I also think they're voting with their feet that they like the SCG and they don't like heading out
a bit closer to town, does.
Yep, agree with all of that. This is the ground, there's no question, that provides It's the best atmosphere, the best venue. The fans love it, the players love it. By the way, 2006, the last time that Geelong have been beaten by 100 points or more. And that is some 8 years, and we're at 88 points right here, right now.
It's a good look at the new grandstand there, the Bradman and Noble stand.
Yep, really impressive, this venue now, Richo.
How many grandstands has Don Bradman got? He's got a few.
Might have one just about in every state.
Certainly got one at Adelaide Oval.
He's got a few covered, the Don.
Yeah.
Most of them named after cricketers here. Of course, the Clive Churchill stand, named after a famous rugby legend, rugby league legend. Duncan draws Hawkins to the footy.
Let him up, head.
Takes a while to wind up the big wheels, but when he gets there, hard to manoeuvre off the ball. Tries to set up Johnson over the back. Not a lot of run left for those Cats there. They are really labouring at the moment, the Cats. And if they're not careful, this will go over 100. Here's Sheringham, the fresh man. Bartel into the middle. Stringer. Stokes gobbled up in the tackle. Jetta. Now Bartel to ease the ball forward. Spearing, beautiful kick from Bartel to Hawkins. This is the same distance, almost the same kick as the one he kicked a few minutes ago.
Well, it's just opened up a little bit here, and it's a good look at Tommy Hawkins.
Look, saying, I want it there. I want it in that space there.
That was perfect. He kept his weight on his left arm, held Hawkins off, and was pointing to the grass in front where he wanted it delivered. Did it beautifully.
He did indeed. Really good. That one he's got bending left to right, but not enough.
You've got to protect the area you want to lead into and just time your lead at the right time, and that was a great example by Tommy.
That area there, right in front of the magnificent old ladies stand, just off to the left-hand side. That's the new stand in the background.
It's great how that's got to stay there forever, the old grandstand.
Yep, keeping some heritage at the ground, like here in Adelaide, has done wonders. And I reckon Geelong could do well to leave that city end open down at Simmons Stadium as well. I know there's no heritage component there, but to give the people that standing room environment, that drip tray environment that they seem to like. Here's Selwood to Bartel. A lot of people come to the footy like to stand at the footy, Richo, the lead of Hawkins, rather than sit. Hawkins did well. That is classy, Tom Hawkins. I think he's got it to break too much, or is it there?
No, it's there.
No, it's there. So Hawkins gets his third goal.
That's almost doing your job, isn't it, Richo? Sorry, mate, if he kicks free, I know he's had a quiet night, but you look up at the end of the night as a key forward, one out, 3 goals is probably fair return.
He didn't get any opportunity, really, in the first half of this game, and in the second half it's opened up a tad, especially in this last 10 minutes, and he's kept presenting. That's all he can do. He's had 6 shots at goal.
Just they do look tired, don't they?
4 shots, sorry.
Well, there you see the vast crowd here really enjoying their Sydney Swans. 37,355. There's that magnificent members pavilion. Ladies stand just next to it. And a really, really good roll-up tonight. By the way, Geelong scored 19 points in this quarter. In the first three quarters, they could only put 16 points together. So they've done well here. There is that prolific bounce. Look at it. It took a minute to come down from umpire Matthew Nichols. He sent it up to the planet stars.
I know.
He's a big bouncing machine.
He is.
Boy, oh boy, well, we did just see that. Now this. Jack. 87 points.
We said it was going to be high scoring tonight before the first bounce. Just didn't think 18 goals were going to go Sydney's way and only 5 to Geelong. As Buddy works his way back. Bit of junk time action now, really, isn't it? There's a chance to just fill your boots up, though, isn't there? If you're a Sydney forward, you'd be thinking, all right, let's turn this into 4 or 5 or 6 goals.
Oh, there's that great big bounce that you were talking about, BT. But you see the man there, Kieran Jack, is just at the right of screen as this ball is kicked. This is a perfect summary of the night. The work rate from the Sydney players to work down. We don't see him finish off with a goal there, but we know he does it. The work rate from the middle part of the ground to get to the next contest and kick the goal. That's why Sydney have absolutely smashed Geelong tonight.
Nice work, Lingy. I think we've found the new bouncer of the year. Matty James was the last guy that was the big prolific bouncer. Here's Melcheski. Got a nice do. Richo, did you ever go with the scalpel look?
Got Melcheski's.
Yeah.
Back one.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, the ponytail there for a while. That was an interesting.
That was a good look, wasn't it? That one.
Wearing the chinos tonight. Richo got to the hotel and forgot his pants.
Well, they sent me Lee Matthews pants.
Essentially, what, they come up to your knees?
There's plenty of room in the quads.
They look like the old three-quarter strides.
Cross ground, Shaw. On to Laidler. And now Sydney go forward, but no one deep. They keep coming though. Hannery puts it into a dangerous spot. Tippett, deliberate socket to Buddy. Oh, it's World Cup style. Quite deliberate.
Oh, they're loving playing together. Tippett and Franklin. 4 goals each tonight. They've kicked over the last 3 games since Tippett came into the team. 22 goals between them. They're combining beautifully, and that's a scary proposition going forward in this season for the rest of the competition, trying to man these 2 guys up.
Three-point difference. They haven't lost by 100 or more for 8 years, Geelong.
Well, they're staring down the barrel of that tonight. And you mentioned this combination, Richo. They just look like they suit each other's style of play. It's a bit of a dream forward line at the moment, isn't it, Sydney's?
They've kicked 11 goals each in the last 3 weeks, 22 between them.
Good.
They're becoming a real nightmare. Since Tippett's come into this team, it's just made Franklin such a better player.
The triple pronger when you throw in this man here. The Australian of the year. Adam Goods on fire as well tonight. In terms of goals, he's done really well, Goods. Derrick's the big fella around the corner. Here they go again. Who's under this? Here comes Tippett. He was late. Lloyd. Little one over the top. Now Hannery does something for himself, and he's conjured that up beautifully. And guess what? 99 points.
Just a party here now at the SCG. There's a few frothies being drunk.
They're queuing up down there now, aren't they?
It's got, look at that, all smiles. One of those nights where you look around and think, I might turn a really good night into an all-time record here if I run out. You can do a lot of damage in 8 minutes in a footy game.
Hold the ball.
Oh, look at McGuinn.
Yeah,
He wants to break there. Oh, they're out to a 99-point lead. Will Geelong be beaten by 100 for the first time in 8 years? Hannery's got a couple, and the bouncer of all bouncers, here he goes, bang! Oh, he might get a second go at it.
You'll have to toss this one up.
We're going to get 2 for 1.
I don't like being critical, but it used to be my pet hate when you get one guy who bounces at 80 metres high and the next guy half his size, and you're just like...
Well, you need consistency as a
yeah,
runner.
that's right. Maybe just pull it back just a half a notch. I know he thinks it's a great party.
Oh, he's throwing it. Give it everything, Matthew. 99 points. This is turning into a mother of whoppings for the Cats. Here's Duncan. Handball off. Stevie J wouldn't often miss from there. So there's still 8 minutes of play. Lot of time. So far it has been a 6 goal to 3/4. Into the middle. Goods again.
Play on.
Looking for a runner. Gee, that kick was never on. Always going to be picked off Varco, so just a little bit of showboating there. Stokes to Big McIntosh.
Hey, T. Play on.
The sub Cunningham. To Bird, who gets possession number 30.
Almost had 100 more disposals to Swans in Geelong, 420 to 336.
Clearances have been an issue all night. It's nearly minus 20 now.
Inside 50, 70 to 42.
Hey, Lee, the only way to handle this, I'd imagine, and this is where Chris Scott, I think, is a brilliant coach, is you probably wouldn't even bother reviewing this one if you're Geelong. I think you just put it into the aberration basket and move on with next week, Lee.
Well, you certainly don't dwell on it, that's for sure, and I don't think he will, but he will review it as they move the ball forward again to Kurt Tippett. Just great work from the stoppage there again, the Swans. Kurt Tippett having another shot at goal. They've got to learn the way Sydney play, because Sydney, well, we know they're going to play finals. They're top two, potentially the best team in the competition. They're going to have to look at what makes Sydney such a good team, so they will take a close look at it.
Tippett for that magical 100-point lead.
The big Tippo's got 5. Banging him from outside 50. Buddy's got 4. They lead by 100 points. You're a genius if you picked this tonight. You just couldn't have seen this coming. I reckon he's put the shampoo in tonight. Did Tippo put any product in? It's a real fluffy perm style do.
Oh, he's pretty happy. Little bag of 5 now for Kurt Tippett. He's enjoying it. The biggest margin the Swans have ever beaten the Cats by is 109 BT.
Wow, well, they're at 104 at the moment. Here's the little bouncer, Lee Fisher. We've got a big and a little out there. This is a whopping of all whoppings. 104. Haven't been beaten by 100 or more in 8 years, Geelong. And here tonight, they are getting an absolute hiding as Varco marks. Back inside. To the credit, they've tried to do that all night. Even when it hasn't worked, they have kept trying. Jack, long footy to the square. Touched by Hanbury.
Coming back, Dan!
He's gone again, Jimmy.
Yeah, I reckon he went out of the square then too. And Richo worked that one out. It's gone past the centre line. Work it out, Richo, and get back to me. Malcheski, laser man.
Well, the last one was 67. That was 68.
No, but hang on, it went past the circle.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Bartell's just amusing himself tonight. He's just decided, well, it's a smashing. I might as well practice my torps. He's hitting him well too.
Richo, it's gone past the centre circle.
What about the old myth, Richo, that the Sydney 50 is not actually a 50?
Well, I don't think it is.
Well, I've measured it. I have actually been out there with a tape measure.
You have?
And yeah, I have.
It's in your spare time.
Give us a spell, Brian.
And it was 50. I thought the same as you. Not tonight. I haven't done it in the last few years.
Well, they redraw the line.
Okay, they might have moved it in a bit.
Well, explain why years ago the 50 used to run into centre half forward.
Well, there's been renovations here and they've found a couple of metres at each end. There's McGlynn. Buddy winds up on the left. Hanbury underneath. Stringer. So Sydney second on the ladder. Geelong plummet in the percentage area of the game as well. And next week the Cats will be playing at Etihad against the Blues. Then they've got St Kilda, Gold Coast and Essendon. And for the Sydney Swans, they have Gold Coast at Metricon next week, Port, Richmond and GWS. So their run of 6 wins may well end up at about 10. Jeddah, Goods, 105 points. Or 6 it is, in fact. So they are now, Richo,
The darts there for him.
106. That's a bit of dart stuff.
Yes. Well, we need one more goal, and it's their biggest win ever against the Cats, the Swans.
What'd you say? 110 it was.
109 it was.
109. Some records being broken here tonight. Buddy Franklin kicked goal number 6 and game 191.
I've got another record for you, BT. This is the most disposals Sydney have ever had in a game of AFL football. 448, their previous record 442. There's old
Whack.
Georgie, isn't it?
Boy, Georgie, I hope he just takes it easy after this one.
Sorry, Ken it is, yeah.
Play on.
Ken,
Is it? Yeah, I called him George.
well, it's just the...
He gets in the circle, doesn't he, Ken? And
Hey, stop, that's it, mate.
It's time to just sort of...
You can't move Kenny.
He gets the song going, Ken.
No, come on.
He's a legend up
You
here.
can't wind Kenny up.
He's a legend up here, Brian.
Boys, he used to sit behind the goals in the cheer squad, and the boys used to run through with goals from very close proximity and try and line him up.
Like tried to put a torpedo through.
Absolutely it is. He used to sit behind the goals and everyone would ping balls at him.
You would have done that, wouldn't you?
I wouldn't. I thought it was disgraceful behaviour.
Kenny would have been winding up the opposition full forwards.
Oh, he was.
Yeah,
he was the yapper of all yappers.
Just get under your skin, Brian.
Big Tommy got driven into the ground there by Derricks. Kelly over the top. So 105 points here. Geelong fighting. I'm sure they don't realise that the records are tumbling here.
In the back. It's in the back. You just end up in his back, mate.
Cunningham with the free.
Play on.
2.5 minutes remain. And both teams have really come to a standstill here.
Come on.
As Grundy finds some run on the legs to get forward of the footy. And that's about all there was. Does this do anything mentally, Darst, to the Cats? Or is it just that aberration?
I don't think so. I think there's enough great players out here who understand the game well enough that, you know, they left out 2 really important players tonight. I don't think it'll leave any scarring at all with their record. They've got arguably the best record of any team ever, Geelong.
Selwood going for home and he's got it on line. So back under 100.
So Joel Selwood, on a night where we really haven't spoken about him a lot, he still has 29 possessions, 6 tackles, kicks a goal. 14 of those contested possessions. So he knows no other way, Joel Selwood. But they have looked tired, Richo, tonight. They've all looked like they haven't had that real zing about them.
I've got no doubt they're a little bit tired after 2 6-day breaks, and the Swans are pretty fresh.
So just seeing whether this is touch, but I'm sure it'll make a lot of difference.
They're the hard ones to overrule, BT, aren't they, the touched ones?
Yep.
Is this an official score
Yes,
review?
it is.
Is it really?
Yep, absolutely. Official review, and it's going to be pretty hard to determine from there.
It's too blurry to see whether a finger's gone back.
Okay, here's a super slow-mo.
Review complete.
Oh, got the finger.
Touch behind.
Yes.
So they've called it back.
Got the finger. So that must have meant that the umpires on the ground didn't call for it, but the umpires in the box did call for it. Because otherwise he would have been back down with the goal umpire.
Nick, wait until I say so.
So they can call them from the box, can they?
Well, obviously they can. It's an interesting question, because I didn't think they could either. But
Okay,
I
Nick.
think I've seen it happen once before
You can bring it in now.
when the ball was back in the middle and they made them go to a official review. So that puts it back out to 104 points, and the Sydney fans are loving that. And here's Reid. For Tippett on the lead. He was leading more to the centre of the ground there.
still not sure I like that. I think that's probably the right decision, but it opens this whole, in a grand final, so much then is on our cameramen, who do a brilliant job, by the way, brilliant pickup to be able to go and zoom in on that. But to me, there's still that element of, you know what, if it was flicked and the umpire didn't see it,
But imagine if the replay was played after the grand final had been run and won and you realised it was touched.
Well, I think you live with that. I think you can't live with one that's banged into the post 3/4 of the way up. But now going back, going to a contest 60 metres away from the goal and saying, you know what, a fingernail was caught on it.
But surely...
What do we do on grand final? They spend a minute and a half going back, trawling through tape 6 times.
But surely in the end, the reason we've got that is to get the right decision.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure our game's set up for it. You know,
is it officially called from the box, or did the umpire on the ground?
And that is a very good question, Richard. I didn't know, and I may be naive, that the guy reviewing it up here has the right to call. We'll find that out after the game
It's no genuine intention.
and let you know.
Got to show something, just. Keep back, guys, keep back.
Melcheski.
I just had a tweet from a gentleman who said you should get a haircut like Nick Melcheski, BT. You'd look amazing with it.
I would, Richo.
I would like to see that.
I walked around the streets of Sydney today
Tom Derrick's on it.
and I would not have looked out of place. That is for sure. Well, siren about to sound here in a monumental victory for the Sydney Swans. What a way to finish. What a way to finish. Oh, we're going to have a score review.
Siren. I believe it's a goal. Let's not check that it's not touched. Okay. Score review. Umpire's call is a goal. Please check if it was touched on the line.
So if it's a goal, Richo, it'll be their greatest
Margin ever
against Geelong.
It'll be 110. The record was 109.
They're not going to be able to overrule that, so we can...
It'll be the greatest margin ever against the Cats.
Review complete. Umpire's call.
Umpire's call. All clear, mate.
It's a goal. 110 points. The Sydney Swans. Let's get down to Cameron Lee, Mickey.
I got Buddy Franklin here. I just said you did not see that one coming at all. Could you believe it being out there?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable experience. I don't think I've only beat Geelong once in about 10 outings. And yeah, it was an unbelievable win by the boys today. It was the first time we've probably put 4 quarters together this season, and to come away with a win like that against a quality opposition in Geelong is outstanding for our confidence.
You must have loved it as a forward line yourself. Tibbett, Goods, you had a really good day, but the amount of ball that the team was able to get down there, something over 70 entries for the game. You must love it when the midfield's on fire like that.
Yeah, definitely can't complain. The boys were on top today in the midfield, and they were getting it forward, and Tipper had a day out, and then all the other forwards. Goodsy hit some form tonight, which was really good, and then we had a lot of good performance all over the field.
And congratulations, 600 goals tonight with your first goal. Huge effort. I mean, do you pinch yourself sometimes? You're playing AFL footy, you kick 600 goals. You're still a young man. You might kick 1,000 one day, mate.
Who knows, mate? I think it's something you look at when I finish my career, and yeah, not much I can say about it.
Sensational effort, mate. Great work.
Buddy Franklin there did a really good job tonight. He kicked 4 goals and looked really smooth in that forward line with the other big names that are there.
Had a little speechless, Buddy, and then he got a bit humble. He didn't want to go on about maybe pushing on to 1,000 goals. And he's a really unselfish team player, Buddy. It's one of the things you love about him.
He never really wants to talk after the game, Buddy, out on the ground. He's always happy to talk about his teammates.
Well, I think we're going to go down to Cameron Ling, and he's got Adam Goods. Go ahead, Lingy.
I do have Adam Goods here, and he's just winding back the clock, mate. Kicking goals, moving like you're 21 again.
Yeah, it was nice, mate. It was nice to get out there, and it's the first time I've been on the SCG in a year, mate, so I really wanted to enjoy it. Back in Indigenous round, couldn't have asked for a better result.
Does it mean a little bit more to you than being Indigenous round? I know every game of football means a bit to you, but a really great opportunity to stand up and obviously get a message through as well, but also to play a great game of footy.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, you just want able to come out and play well and represent your community really well. And it's just great for us to represent our city, the Swans. 38,000 people here tonight was fantastic.
And you're joining us at Dreamtime at the G on Saturday night, and just bringing your guests along, just a lazy guest, the Prime Minister of Australia. That's what you do these days.
Yeah, just draw a bit of a crowd, mate. No, look, I'm really looking forward to it. It's my first time down there for Dreamtime, and hopefully there might be a couple little announcements on the night.
Sensational, mate. Go and enjoy the night. Well done.
You're watching Thursday Night Footy on Fox, brought to you by Nissan Altima.
So, there you go. It was just a night to lament for Geelong fans, one to celebrate for the Sydney Swans. A 110-point thrashing. In fact, it's the second worst loss since 1990, since the start of the 1990 premiership year for the Geelong side. On that occasion, it was a 115-point loss against you two, Hawks, in 1990. Remember that one?
Yeah, we had a reasonable day that day.
Yeah, what happened? 115 points.
We couldn't miss.
Yeah. How many did you kick, Jason?
I can't remember, Ed.
Oh, how good's that?
I cannot. It's
remember.
too long ago, mate.
Yeah.
How many did you kick in the second half, Durham? I've got a feeling that's the day we kicked 20 plus, 25 in the second half.
25 goals.
Wow. Yeah, it rained goals. Yep.
All right, well, what about tonight?
I'm stunned.
Well,
I'm genuinely stunned.
It is staggering. They were outplayed. I'm going through and trying to find a winner for Geelong. A winner or even a break even. And the closest I'm coming to it, and I'm really sorry, Kingy, is Tom Hawkins. So out of 22 blokes that take the field for their respective teams, maybe one had a break even.
The upside for the Cats is they have a pretty good draw on the way home. Third easiest according to ladder positions at the moment. Two games against top four sides. They play Hawthorn and the Suns, and then 4 against Melbourne, St Kilda, GWS and Brisbane Lions. So they've got a bit of time to get themselves. It's a belting, but you know what? Sometimes that happens these days. If you get the run and get a couple of players
Doesn't
out.
happen to the Cats, Ed.
Doesn't happen.
They're a proud team. This will burn for a long time in their guts.
5 goals too. 5 goals. Normally you know the Cats will kick their 12 to 13, 14, but 5 goals. And the Lonigan and Enright, does that mean that everything comes down the line, that the lack of pressure and having those two good defenders
Well, if Tommy wants to go in and renegotiate a contract this week also, he might be saying, I hold this thing together.
Lance.
The back six were poor.
They didn't look. They looked listless tonight, didn't they? The Cats. They've
had a tough run.
They've had a hard run. Young side.
Look, it is, and it was made mention in the call about 6-day turnarounds and the likes, and they've had a few of them in a row. To me, they've had road trip after road trip, and then a Thursday night footy, Friday night footy down at Simmons Stadium and the likes. I saw tonight in Guthrie the first signs of he is suffering battle fatigue, I reckon. He's not unfit, he just looks like he's got battle fatigue for the first time this season.
Can't remember 1990 against the Cats?
What was it, round 1?
I don't know what. No, I don't know. Was it? No, it was round
Because we had no
5,
joy 99.
Let me say, I'll have a guess he kicked maybe a double digit.
Yeah,
amount.
12. He kicked 12.
It was only 12.
He only
You
kicked
can't
12.
remember
How many times
that,
did you kick 12 in your career? I know you kicked 16, but how many times
You
you kicked
can't
12?
remember kicking 12.
I can't. Really?
I can remember kicking 11 of them to you.
Had to be
12 goals for you. You kicked 5, by the way, big man. It's an half forward.
That's like me getting 50 possessions and I can't remember it, but I can when I do get it.
Jeez. If you kicked 12, I'd be hitting at the DVD every week. I'd be carrying around here. Have a look at the phone. Hey, I don't
17.
have a look at this on YouTube. There's me kicking 12.
We got 17 between us.
I knew he kicked
17 between you. There you go.
That was the grand final replay.
It was too.
89.
After the 89.
Happy days, happy days.
There you go. Who won that year, by the way?
19, yeah, it was a good year.
Funny year. All the good teams sort of ran into problems.
We got injured.
Who won the Norm Smith?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember.
Copeland.
I can't
Who did
remember that.
Let's go to the war room anyway. Cam, how are you, buddy?
I'm not too bad, guys. I'm just still thinking from what I hear, a couple of the boys went to the Ivy last night. I think they haven't got home yet, so I think that was the problem.
He was only 117 points out, Ed. There's upside. I'm sure there's upside there somewhere, but that was a powerful performance, wasn't it? I think the Swans have made a statement to the competition that you just can't match up against them. Forward of centre, and we've talked about the big guys down there, but I actually think they're half-forward flankers now with what John Longmire's done with McVeigh, who was an All-Australian half-back last year, now playing half-forward. They have Jetta go through there. We've spoken about Goodsey. Hanbury spends time there. They're an impossible matchup now.
And they brought some real speed into the game as well. A couple of half-forward flankers going through. They were keeping O'Keefe out, guys like that. So
got a great little unit down there at the moment, Horse, hasn't he?
Can't believe that Jace doesn't remember kicking 12 goals. It would taken me 3 years, Ed, to kick 12 goals, I reckon.
It was round 1 too. Stephen Phillips just sent that through. Thanks, Wonder. All right, okay. The pre-game entertainment was fantastic at the start of Indigenous round, and that's as close as they got to the Swans there, that handshake. And then there they go, the big names. Shaw to Franklin to Tippett to goal. That's the first of many for the night. First of 5 for Kurt Tippett. Adam Goods. Well, we tipped he would have a big night tonight. It's so much going into this game, and the dual Brownlow medalist, the Indigenous leader, the Australian of the Year, did the right thing and kicked the early goal. Lance Franklin, this is for his 600th career goal, and at the moment he's got 603, Pavlich 601, and Nick Revolt 594 of the active players. And that was the second time this year Geelong held to a goalless first quarter.
Travis Varco makes an error then. Yabby once said, the boundary line's your friend, keep him out, just seek him out. Big Dawson Simpson, though, 116 kilos of him, showed that he's got some agility. But then Adam Goods, you will never get an easier front and centre snap than that.
Yeah, I tell you what, life was tough at the other end. There's Lloyd just popping one through as well. Really pretty much did as they pleased. But if you're Tom Hawkins and the Geelong forwards, there were numbers dropping back. Intercept marks are plenty. He actually rolled his ankle as well, Tom Hawkins, so that just rubbed salt in the wound. In the end, I thought he did a pretty good job to kick 3, given that he was outnumbered so regularly. Adam Goods just waltzes through a stoppage here, strolls into an open goal, kicks his 3rd. That was in game number 336. Now, Adam Goods, stay tuned for this. Comes off the ground, bumps, there is high contact. Not sure that was his intention, but we'll see what happens. He put in an apology that Joel Selwood wasn't interested in. And then Lance Franklin just wanders around one and snaps on the left.
Well, the Cats needed a good start to the last quarter. 79 points down against the Swans, and it wasn't to be. And it was Dan Hanbury who snapped, thanks to his good work from Tippett. Great team play by the Swans there. Kieran Jack, well, we know he loves a goal. That just showed the lack of tackling pressure from Geelong, getting around 2 players onto his favoured left. And Lance Franklin for his 4th goal. Tippett a little toe poke, and Lance just toe pokes it through for a goal. Sensational. That was his 4th goal for the game, and there's the score, boys.
110 points, a massive win, massive percentage boost for the Sydney Swans. Wow. They go to second position on the ladder. We'll have a look at that in a few moments' time. Tippett 5, Franklin 4, Goods 3. There you go, the big 3 up forward. They all fired tonight. Hawkins was serviceable in the end, kicking 2 in the last quarter for 3 goals. And, Stokes and Selwood and Bartel, really had no influence on the game despite racking up those figures. Malcheski was magnificent, particularly early. Bird was sensational. Parker picked up his 32. And look, it was a Sydney Swans walkover tonight. It was an absolute flogging. No two ways about it. Let's go to Johnny Ralph now from the Herald Sun. Ralphie, we've got to have the bump every week, I suppose, but I'm tipping that if the match review put Adam Goods up, there will be a royal pardon coming through or some sort of gesture. I wouldn't think in this round, with everything on the line, that Adam Goods would have much worry, even though technically there's probably a few question marks.
Well, it might be a prime ministerial pardon, of course. It's not great timing because Tony Abbott will be there at Dreamtime at the G on Saturday night. Look,
a big announcement, I think, tomorrow night as well in relation to Adam Goods.
And that's going to be absolutely fantastic, and we all know what a great job he does with his own Adam Goods Foundation. But to be honest, the worst case scenario from this incident would be a low impact hit that would see him hit with 125 points. He hasn't got any carryover points or anything like that. But the one thing we shouldn't say is that he tried to knock the ball. I think we clearly feel that the ball was gone, and then he jumped into to Joel Selwood. As you say, the apology was not very well received. We shouldn't say that he's clumsy either, because he has been up before the tribunal 8 times for 7 guilty pleas. Now, 2 years ago, Dermot accused him of some sort of crazy leg chop kung fu thing on Josh Gibson. That did not go down well with the Sydney boys. But again, I think insufficient force. Worst case, the reprimand.
Yeah, that's a free kick. Boys, what do you reckon?
I think the force won't be reckoned with, and they'll just say, no, see you later.
Clumsy, but it's not enough force, I don't think, to constitute any form of sanction. But He looked for him, the ball went, and he just wanted to make token contact.
If he ticked all the boxes, you say, left the ground, didn't have eyes for the ball, got him late.
Summed him up,
all the rest
him
of
up.
it, but it was sort of
not enough force.
Insufficient of all the four, to be perfectly honest.
I think he was basically leaving the ground because the ball was up above him. And I think that kind of half committed him to leaving the ground, and then when it went past him, he thought...
And he tends to jump a bit anyway, doesn't he, like that? Anyway. Hey, thanks to the all-new Nissan Altima, we're having a good look at this game. Now, let's have a look at the Cats. They've got some injury worries as well, Ralphie.
They do. Certainly doesn't seem to be as bad as we initially feared with Andrew Mackie. Now, this was a horrific incident through the middle of the ground. We saw McGlynn almost try to do that. Buddy Franklin skipped through the middle of the ground and he crashed right into him. It's fantastic to have someone like Chris Bradshaw, the Geelong doctor, the former Fulham EPL doctor and a Richmond and Melbourne man, who would have been so aware of the potential for kidney damage after Tom Lonergan's situation. Thankfully, though, after all of these checks for internal damage and, of course, structural damage, it seems like this could be some back soreness. But the fact they got him out there at three-quarter time and considered him potentially playing on before they subbed him is a very good piece of news. Just quickly, too, Dane Rampy subbed out with a knee injury. Ted Richards with some right hamstring soreness, but he did play out the game. So both of those players should be fine.
Magnificent early, Ted Richards. He was absolutely sensational. All right, let's have a listen to the Sydney Swans song after their 110-point victory over Geelong.
1, 2, 3.
There you go, satisfied after a 110-point victory. I think they could have sung the song at quarter time pretty much. It was just about done and dusted. Have a look at that, the percentage up to 139.3, 28 points now, one game behind Port Adelaide. Geelong down to fourth position, and they can slip down the ladder because their percentage has been whacked down to 101.3. So Hawthorn and Collingwood Hawthorn and Collingwood could both go past with victories over the weekend. Fremantle can get right up close as well. So that was a big loss for the Geelong side. As I said, though, they've got a pretty good run home. The Sydney Swans run a little bit tougher. Just trying to find it. They've got the third toughest draw. Remaining 5 games versus the top 4 and 10 against the top 11. Port Adelaide twice and the run home. Geelong, Hawthorn and the Suns have the Sydney Swans, but they've set themselves up pretty well. Might not matter who they play. They're going well. Let's go through a few of them now. Let's have a look at Kurt Tippett's night tonight. Dern?
5 goals through to be Kurt Tippett, and, well, really, he missed one from the goal square. This one that was in the first quarter, he sprays that out to the right, so he should have had a 6 or 7 goal haul, which would have been wonderful for him. He was able to lead back, as you saw, but he was really dangerous when he was allowed to stand shoulder to shoulder.
Good form here.
Well, you knew they were under man down there. Now, how the matchup, they just could not get the matchups right with Lonergan out, because you know Harry Taylor would have been probably the third man up and does it better than anybody in the competition. Once Lonergan was out and couldn't go to Franklin, they just could not get a matchup. But he's got a big body. I just think the ball movement was sensational all night, and especially the rebound from half back.
Well, they got to control where those forwards played and where they went at their behest because of the way they control the ball in the middle of the ground. Another bloke, though, Lance Franklin, though, he kicked 4 goals through. I thought he was very good. Played up higher, Ed, and moved with the ball. A lot of ball running in the same direction. Here you go, as the Sydney Swans goals. And that, see how the small steps just as he kicks it? That is a beautifully touched ball.
Yep, and Jason, take us through, as we just spoke about before, round 1, 1990, you two kicked 17 between you. But when you've got a tall and a crowded forward line at times, Buddy is running up the ground, as you said, Goods is getting out of the way, Tippett seems to be running to the spot and really getting the eyes of the midfielders coming through. What is the secret to this?
Look, I think the thing that made the job easy for the Swans is most of the time the person delivering the footy was under no pressure. So he's got time to look at the best option, time to work out who's separated from the rest of the pack, who's got a one-on-one contest, who's a couple of metres in front, and they actually kicked it in most cases to the advantage of their teammates. But we saw a couple of Sydney players actually dictating where they wanted the forward to lead as they were running forward with the ball because they had that much time and that little pressure.
And the third musketeer is Adam Goods. Nice to have him as your third forward, isn't it? Reid was probably the only one who didn't get amongst it tonight, but early on in particular, Adam Goods was a dominant force out there.
It was, but you know what? He almost played like a crumbing forward tonight. So he read them off the pack. He got the ground balls, he got the stoppage balls, and he ended up with 4 and did very well.
Stick the post that one. I think he only got the 3-1 in the end, Jace. But
my apologies.
Yeah, probably. 4. You got 4, did you?
Yeah,
you got the 1 each quarter. My stats are wrong. Thank you very
sorry
much.
for being right.
Yeah. Sorry for the stats being wrong right in front of me. Okay, but look, as you say, Jason, front and centre, nice, easy, 6'4" crummer, and never get an easy one. His last goal. Now, watch Guthrie chase him.
Bad stop.
Remember when I said Guthrie looks battle weary? He just couldn't get off the mark to chase him from that position there. So,
well, that's the Bondi billionaires. Let's have a look at a few of the blue-collar boys. Malcheski was one Doom you picked out early on. He was your player of the night, and he lived up to all expectations.
Yeah, he ended up with 37. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it must be fun when you can play behind the footy and not have an opponent.
I'm with you.
Because Nick Malcheski and Rhys Shaw pretty much mopped up and did as they pleased, ran out of defence, chimed in when they wanted to. They virtually just controlled the footy.
He was always going to get free, and the reason being you got Hanbury and you got Kennedy. If you're going to sweat on just one, you'll pick one of them. If you're going to sweat on a second one, you'll take that one. So that leaves 3 or 4 other midfielders, and they'll probably want to drop someone up into the midfield or even behind the midfield. So one person has to be free for the Sydney Swans in the back half. You orchestrate it so it is your best kicker, and that's Malcheski. So I just thought he was going to run around until enough damage was done, literally without an opponent.
But Doom, we see a lot of half-back flank who give rebound now get a real hard forward tag who try and kick 2 goals on him. You know, he might have 20 possessions. They just did not. He was the man for the last month who the Sydney Swans say is in the best form of his career. So I just thought they had to sit someone on. I don't know whether they put enough time into the opposition this week, Geelong. They would have done it, but he was the one I identified.
They just couldn't execute tonight at all.
No.
Come on, Uncle Tony, tell us about your nephew. Hey, he was
well,
great.
I told you a bit before half-time because I thought Malcheski and Rhys Shaw really did set up this game in the first half. You can have key forwards kicking,
this is
marking
awesome,
the ball. But this is a really good play. Spoils Motlop, and he is a hard matchup, Motlop, because he does probably against Rhys, I think, would move laterally, which he doesn't cope with well. But just the follow-up and the handball over the top, that is as good. That is Geelong in Sydney jumpers, the way that they play the game. Now, that's a great handball because he drew the man to him and 2 Geelong players go to the ball carrier. He calls Tippett to the ball here. And the one thing about Rhys Shaw is when he runs and flows with the ball, he kicks the ball well. I think when he's standing still and tries to kick up one step, he doesn't drive through with his steps. Now here, that was all right and went through the 10, but he missed a couple of targets. But all in all, he still runs. He's fairly quick. I don't think he's lost a lot of speed after his reconstruction, which he's done really well to get over it.
Is it just a Shaw family trait, the ability to find space and never have anyone on you?
Yeah, probably it is, but he finds it with speed. I don't know where he got that. His old man was very quick though. So
his old man was a beautiful kick.
Yeah, and look, he wasn't super speed as Heath and Rhys are because Heath looks like he runs like a duck. But that's all right. But Rhys has got genuine speed. He's always had it, but he's had his knee reco now.
Ray was a beauty. Ray within 40 metres would put it through every time. Never missed.
Tremendous.
All right, let's have a look. This is for you two boys, Jace, and for you, Shorey. The ruckman tonight.
Yeah.
On both sides. They gave something. Something.
Tommy Derricks, he was in the Swans' number 1 position again.
Look at Big Dorso.
Wow.
Gets the free kick. Now watch Stevie J here just sweating. Oh, we didn't see it. But he stood there trying to get the handball, and in the end, Dorse just said, hang on, I'm going to kick the first goal of the game. I'm going to break the duck. Look at this. Stevie J, here, give it to me. Get off the mark, Stevie.
He said, you're in my way, get away.
He said, I've watched you do this at training every night for about 3 years. I'm going to put it through myself.
And this is Tommy Derricks comes in with the chest mark from behind here. And Tommy grasped a couple before that, so that's why he went on the chest there.
He's got a good leap on him.
He can take a grab. I reckon he's out of confidence with his hands overhead. But he moves around really well.
2 and 1/4, if you don't mind.
He moves around very well. He's he's got a good set of wheels. He's got good endurance for a ruckman, and he's servicing Sydney Swans for exactly what.
Now Mumford's gone. Pike's injured. Can Tommy Derricks be one of those players who's in the right spot at the right time in a side that goes all the way?
Well, I must say one thing. In the second quarter, you got to know your role. And there was a time in the second quarter where Josh Kennedy was milling around the balls here, and Derek's is a metre on the outside of the pack, and he crept in wondering what, and Josh Kennedy's just gone bang, pushed him out of the way and said, "Get out!"
That's what I do.
That's my spot. Pushed him to the outside saying, "Don't stuff it up for me, stay out there."
I'm glad you cleaned that up too.
Yes, I did clean it up, yeah.
The unlikely Premiership ruckman. Mike Pike was the last one, really, wasn't he? And then,
Clark Keating never played all year and played in 2 of them.
yeah, that was it.
You
And,
know, but he was a good ruckman, but
Max
he didn't play
Bailey.
all
You make the most
Max
of your
Bailey.
opportunities. You
Max
never know
Bailey.
when they're going to present themselves. You've got to be good enough to take them. And at the moment, he's doing a very serviceable job.
2 goals in a 110-point win. That's a pretty good job.
He will not give any credit to any ruckman. He said he's doing a very serviceable job. Has he been good?
It's been serviceable.
He doesn't like ruckman.
He's hardly running around like Peter Moore, taking hangers everywhere and sprinting away from the opposition. Give me a spell.
Give him something. He's kicked 2.
Outstandingly serviceable.
Dawson Simpson, he's kicked 20% of the score. Fantastic. All right, let's take a break. And it's as good as it gets for the Sydney Swans tonight in Indigenous round. The Australian of the Year did it all. 4 goals and led from the front with aplomb.